Hello and you're very welcome to the JMac podcast. I'm Sean Van. Of course, the podcast is brought to you by orgorich.com. Use my go JMac podcast to get 15% off on the website. And of course, for the rest of January, it'll be 20% discount on the website. So get your hands on the gear. And today I'm joined by former Mayo footballer Colm Boyle. Obviously, Colm leads very, very little introduction, but I will do so. He obviously got the ball rolling with Mayo in 2008 and he 2021 and Colm on 6 iconic titles and 4 All-Stars in his time playing for the Green and Red of Colm. Where did it all go wrong?
John, how you doing? Are you well? Thanks for having me on. Yeah, like I said, started 2008, so and a couple of years out of the panel, and back in around 2012. So, yeah, fully enjoyed my time playing with the Green and Red, as you said, over that time frame.
Great stuff, Colm. Great stuff. I suppose, obviously, we are into the thick and thrust of the GAA action. Once again, it's back. All competitions, the FBD back, the McKenna Cup back, the McGrath Cup back, and everything's back, Colm. So it's good to see. But I suppose, how did you, suppose the Christmas, we're 2 or 3 weeks away from it now. So how did you enjoy the downtime?
Yeah, it was good, but do you know what? I think, like everyone else, John, I was mad for the intercounty to return. Obviously, this is the first year of the proper split season, I suppose. Whatever I'll take from a Mayo point of view, we've been out of the championship since June. So there's a huge appetite to get back now and to get watching games. I know Mayo are playing Galway there in the Dome in the Connacht Centre of Excellence on Saturday night, and the tickets went on sale yesterday and they were gone in a couple of minutes for it. Yeah, obviously there's a limited capacity, but I think people are just mad for action now at this stage, and to get back watching intercounty football again. And obviously we're a couple of weeks away from the league, which is brilliant. So we're going to be busy now over the next while, because as we now know from last year, and especially now with the new formats coming in the Sam Maguire race and the Tailteann Cup, once it starts, it's going to be pretty much week on week and rolling and coming at us quickly. So there's going to be lots to talk about over the next 6 or 7 months.
Absolutely, Colm. Absolutely. I suppose, how did you enjoy the downtime? Because obviously you were telling me off air that you are a guard, and obviously the work that comes with that, and obviously you got maybe a bit of time off in between. But was Colm, obviously the busy nature of your life, obviously you're doing the media work, and obviously you're in with the Mayo minors now. So did you enjoy the bit of downtime during Christmas?
Yeah, I did. I suppose, like I said to you, it's different. When you finish playing intercounty football, obviously an awful lot of things changes. You find, obviously, you have more time in your hands, number one. But like I said, even working the Christmas there, as you said, I didn't have to be, a lot of time during the Christmas, because other lads are off for maybe 2 weeks or a week or whatever it is. You'd be training during the days around the 27, 28, 29, that kind of time, But you'd obviously still be working, so you'd be changing your shifts or, sorting stuff like that out. So that was a change, just, you're free to really work when you need to. But yeah, you'd miss that all the same, even though this time of year is a bit of a struggle. I was watching a couple of games. I saw a few highlights last night of Sigerson Cup games and O'Byrne Cup and McKenna Cup, whatever else was on, and the conditions the lads are playing in. You're kind of happy enough that you're sitting inside and you're sitting in front of the fire. So you don't miss that aspect for sure. But obviously, as the year goes on and the weather tidies up a bit and into the hard ground, and especially Croke Park in the summer, that's obviously what you miss more than anything. But this time of year, not so much.
Yeah, it definitely looked very enjoyable, maybe from the couch. I suppose, obviously, I watched the Cavan game from the couch, seeing the puddles of rain and everything coming down, Colm. So yeah, definitely that was good. But in fairness, the crowds have been excellent for a lot of these games. I think at the Armagh game last week, I think there was about 4,000 Armagh fans. And look, it probably brings back the point, obviously during the COVID, maybe people didn't get a chance to go to games, but now everyone seems to be mad for road. Obviously getting back and meeting their friends and going to watch a game of football. And I suppose in news in recent days, Colm, obviously Lee Keegan has finished up playing for the Mayo senior footballers, and obviously the man, the name can speak for itself. What an absolutely incredible footballer. And obviously you spoken off the ball during the week with Andy Moore and paying tribute to the great band that was Lee. And I suppose Lee Keegan, he'll be a big miss this year and for the years ahead, Colm.
He will. Look at the what Lee has done for Mayo football over the last 12 or 13 years has been incredible. It's well documented at this stage. He's, what he's done, the level of performances that he's got to so consistently over that period of time was incredible, really. And obviously, he's not going to be around this year in 2023 from a Mayo point of view. Obviously, Oshie Mullins isn't either. So that's two huge losses to Kevin McStay and his squad. But it's one he's just going to have to get on with now and plan ahead for the year ahead, obviously. Longer term, Oshie Mullins is probably the bigger loss, because you'd be hoping he would have been really taking up the baton from Lee over the next couple of years and continuing on really with what he's done. If Lee had came back, it was probably going to be his last year, definitely, so look at, he's gone. I think the thing that's really Mayo supporters are so disappointed about is that, sometimes when players retire, like myself would be a good point, probably Andy Moore and Keith Higgins, you knew we were done, we'd nothing left more to contribute. With Lee, everyone is kind of thinking he's had a massive year. If he came back last year, he still would be huge benefit and addition to the team and one of the driving forces of it. But unfortunately, it's not to be, and he's called time out. And I think he's right to do it if you're anyways doubtful at all and so kind of in between. I think he's right to do it. Like, the intercounty field is no place for a player that's not sure whether he wants to be there or not, because you just get exposed, you get found out, and especially as time goes on when you're not getting any younger. I think if you're not sure whether you want to be there or not, I think he's made the right decision on it.
Yeah, I suppose, Colm, that is a very good point on it. Like, it seems with intercounty teams, you're either in or you're out, and it's obviously it is all very much time consuming. And obviously, you put in lots and lots of successful years for the Mayo footballers, but it just goes to show, Colm, if you're just having that slight little link in the chain, you might not be good enough to the lads, and it goes to show it's getting very professional. Or is very professional, not even, yeah. Yeah,
it is, and Lee had other factors coming in, obviously, with families and kids, and that changes everything, from it. And Lee might have gone to the stage where he didn't want to leave the kids to go out the door to training, and be gone for the evening and miss them and not see them again to the following morning because they'd be in bed when he got home, and that changes everything. And if you lose that bit of a desire, that bit of hunger, that the worst thing Lee could have done was come back, train for a month or two, and championships coming up or the Inter League coming up, and be thinking to himself, geez, I don't know, did I make the right decision, or I don't know, do I want to be here, so if that's the case, he's, a lot of players don't call time on their career when they're going well. They wait till the bitter end, till the kind of they've nearly been exposed in a game, or they've had a bad year or something like that. But he's finished up when he's really been absolutely flying, off the back of one of his best years. So look, at maybe the timing is absolutely perfect on this, on his behalf. He's obviously Mayo had a difficult year last year, but on a personal level from him, he went out in a bit of high because he was absolutely brilliant for Mayo.
Yeah, what a remarkable player. Colm was obviously the tributes that have been kind of coming in about Lee Keegan, Colm, in the last couple of days, and obviously he was part of the kind of Mayo team with yourself over the years, and you're two absolute warriors for Mayo football. But I suppose everything that went with Lee, he was just, a lot of people kind of say maybe the best player to ever win in All Ireland. Like, that kind of stands in its own right. But just what a remarkable footballer.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable, John. If you look at his career from when he started, like, he was, and I've said this during the week, he was a real, what you see is what you get, 100%, 100 miles an hour. 2012 to probably 2019, he was a player where he was just defend and attack, high intensity bursts up the pitch, getting back, defending, doing man marking jobs, and doing that for 70, 80 minutes in a game, and doing it to such a level that I've never ever seen before. Incredible what he did over that period of time. And then probably over the last 2 years, his game kind of changed a small bit, where he probably wasn't going up the field as often, but it was almost a case that he was timing it where he was going up the field when he felt his team needed him most, and kicking some outrageous scores in the meantime, and doing stuff to try and lift his team as much as he can. I think he became a lot smarter in that regard. He used and conserved his energy an awful lot more, and he just became such a linchpin and leader in the team, especially as the team changed over the last couple of years, and there was obviously a lot of boys that left the squad. But Leroy's performances just never ever waned in that time, and he kept driving and he kept going. And even last year, like I mentioned, when let's be honest, the team were struggling big time for numerous different reasons, numerous different factors, Lee just almost tried to put the team up on his back. And considering everything he's done for Mayo football over the last 12 years, it would have been very easy for him to say or see, things are not going well here, we're not playing well, the chances of us winning the All-Ireland here are very, very slim. and his performances to have dropped with it. But no, Lee being Lee, he just said, no, we're going to drive through. And like I said, he literally put the team up on his back and tried to carry them through the championship. But unfortunately, there just was too many holes to fill or too many fires to put out. And obviously, unfortunately, they came up against Kerry in the quarter-final and went out there at that stage. But Lee's contribution to the year couldn't really have been any more.
Yeah, it always did seem, Colm, in some of them games against Kerry, Dublin, the great teams over the last couple of years, like when Mayo were maybe down by maybe 2, 3, 4 points, Lee just kept going and kept going and kept going. And obviously, when you're looking on from that, that's going to drive you on as well when you start playing for Mayo.
100%. Yeah, 100%. It was his ability to do it, as you're saying, against the top opposition, marking realistically probably the opposition's best forward, and doing it on such a consistent basis. Like that was his strength through his years, through the years, and his mental strength as well. Like he was never ever beaten. He'd keep going to the final whistle, regardless of the score, regardless of the situation in the game. It was him that was always driving forward, either to finish a game off so we'd win it, or to bring us back into the game and get us going again. Like there's so many examples we can use, but I'll probably pick one in the most recent past, the Dublin semi-final in 2021, when it's game, we're 10-6 down, there's nothing really happening with 20 minutes to go. We're not really playing well, and he just senses that he needs to go. He gets up the pitch, kicks an inspirational score, and they're just, once he kicked that score, you could almost feel a buzz around the stadium, amongst the crowd, amongst the players, that okay, we're back in this game. And from there we took off and obviously brought the game to extra time and won it. But that's what he did so consistently over the year, and it was almost like the team reacted to something when Lee did it. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of mark of the player he was. He was inspirational in the way he was able to lead his team and lead by example, but so gifted in what he did. And I've mentioned this during the week too, about some of the, like, his scoring rate is ridiculous. Like the numbers he's hit for a halfback is almost in the Messi and Ronaldo numbers, you know, and the fact that you'd probably never see them hit again from a scoring halfback, you know. But an awful lot of the time Lee was given a man marking job, and defence was the best form of attack. He'd just run his man up and down the pitch, and you know, when he scored, which, you know, he normally did in the game, he would almost be sprinting back harder than what he sprinted forward, and it was almost to show his man, you know, I'm going to be going up and down here all day and you're going to be running after me. And it was one of his biggest attributes, and like I said, he used that as a weapon to get his man on the back foot, and he was able to do it on so many occasions.
I suppose, Colm, did he epitomise everything that was right about Mayo football, say, in the last 10, 12 years? Because like that never say die attitude, just keep coming back year after year. Unbelievable teams in the last couple of years. So I suppose, was Lee maybe the catalyst for all of the success he did have over the years? A lot of it. You like to say, like, would we have been challenging as much as much as we did challenge without Lee? You know, it's very hard to say so, but probably not, because he was such a linchpin in the team, and it only got stronger as the years goes on. You know, it wasn't a case that he did it for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It was a case that he did it for over a decade, you know. And it's very hard to see us have been as successful or challenged as much as we did and getting to latter stages of All-Ireland without Lee, because of the performance he was put in. And I said this during the week as well, when you were going into big games and you knew you had Lee with you, you just always felt you have a chance. And it gone to the stage where, you know, you'd go through your matchups the week of a game and you'd say Lee is marking such a player in the opposition, you could pretty much rule him out from doing anything in the game. You know, it gone to that ridiculous stage where you just knew, okay, that's him taking out of the game because Lee is on him. And that's the quality of the player you're talking about, and it's very, very rare you'll see that. You mightn't see that. Okay, the great man markers, don't get me wrong, out there, like Chris McCaig at the minute is a great example of a man marker. Like, if you want someone to take him out of the game, that's probably the man you put him on. But Lee was able to do that and also contribute so much up the other end too at the same time. To get that combination together in the one player is just, it's very, very rare. And that's what he was able to do, and led from the front on big match day as well. Big games, as you said earlier on. He was able to do that very consistently. Yeah, I suppose obviously some of the battles that he had over the years, and I know obviously famously the battle he would have had against maybe like JMac, some of them All-Ireland finals, Colm, and just both men going toe to toe, and obviously after the games would have shook hands and embraced each other, and just like, you know, that was an unbelievable, like you could just kind of see it, like, right, you really put me to the pin of the collar there. So I think with German, like German probably one of the best players we've seen in the last couple of years, Colm, over the years. Like even them battles alone, obviously you would have kind of have an eyewitness account of all what was going on there. So unbelievable battles.
Unbelievable, yeah. Jeremy Connolly, what a player as well. Like, and them two going toe to toe, yeah, it was some sight. It was some sight, and like we had some really good defenders. Like I was really like, we didn't have just Lee. Like when I think with Keith and Chris Bard and Ger Cafferty and so many boys over the years, like top class defenders. But Lee would have been the only one of us. Donald Vaughan as well, obviously Paddy Durkin. Lee probably would have been the only one of all our defenders that would have been able to match Connolly physically and really go toe to toe with him in that regards, and that's what he did, you know, and more than one occasion. Them two boys just went really at it, and look, it was brilliant to see. I haven't watched the whole pile of them games back, but you'd nearly just watch them back to watch, because there's so much stuff you'd forget that's happened through the years. But yeah, the iconic battles. You know, it's hard to see us getting such battles like that again in the near future. Two boys that just went at it so much consistently over the years, and it was unbelievable stuff to watch. Incredible, yeah. Two gifted footballers.
I suppose, Colm, would you agree with the kind of fact that probably the best footballer to never win in All Ireland?
Yeah, probably so. He'd be up there, definitely. Look, he's one of the best footballers that I've ever seen. So yeah, I'd put him up there with them, because, like I said to you earlier on, it wasn't just a case that he did this for 3, 4, 5 years and you know, or did it for a couple of years, took a year or two out, and then came back. He was consistent for, you know, 10 or 12 years. He had a couple of barren spells in 2018-19 when for him his performance levels dipped. An awful lot of injuries in them couple of years period, and his performances suffered big time in that, and you could see it in the semi-final against Dublin and against Conn O'Callaghan. Obviously he was injured, he gets put on Conn O'Callaghan, and obviously doesn't have a great day, but even within that, in his probably toughest day in a Mayo jersey performance wise, still managed to get up the pitch and scores a goal with 20 minutes to go to try and drag his team back into the game. And that was just typical Leroy. It was typical what he did. His mental strength was unbelievable. And, you know, after that, then he comes back, especially in his last 2 years, 21, and obviously gets nominated for Football of the Year, and then finishes last year in 2022 with another unbelievable year. So yeah, and it's the time that he did it over, you know, to do it over a 12-year period, unbelievable.
100%. I know I picked up on the point you kind of said there, like with the All Ireland kind of finals, and maybe we can touch on it in a few minutes. But like, would you find it kind of hard to maybe watch some of the games back, or like, I know obviously people, you know, they look back at their defeats, whatever, but do you can find them games tricky enough to watch back?
Yeah, you would. You know, towards the latter in the decade, we would have reviewed it. So at the start of the following year, you'd look back at the game and see, okay, what went right and what went wrong. And look, it's tough watch. you know, obviously, you know, it's only now when you kind of look back and say, look, it was unbelievable occasions to be a part of. You know, all the people that killed to be in your position that you were, and on a couple of occasions, you know, but obviously extremely disappointing. And, you know, little things in the games where you might see a turnover or missed tackle or something that just might have changed the momentum of a game in favour of the opposition. You'd be wincing, and, you know, it just, but they're tough to watch. Yeah, they are, absolutely. But look, at the same time, unbelievable to be a part of. And, you know, there was obviously Limerick in 14 against Kerry, where like that was one of the most spectacular occasions I'd say I was ever, you know, of all the games I played in, because it was something different. It was the Gaelic grounds. 45-50,000 people wedged into the place, and it just felt like they were all on the pitch on top of you while the game was going on. And obviously it was a manic game of football on top of that anyway, but certain things that stand out, like even walking around the parade that day, and just literally one of the few times where the hair was standing on the back of your neck. It was incredible. And yeah, but never fully watched that game back either, to be honest, because I don't know even now could I watch it back fully. But yeah, maybe in time we'll get to them, because like I said, there were brilliant games to be part of, unbelievable games to be part of, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Jacob was a great chance for everyone to watch back all the videos, but
yeah,
you get time, no doubt. And I suppose obviously looking into Mayo's obviously this year, but what did you maybe make of Mayo's year last year, Colm? Obviously, 2022 was your first year, maybe not involved in a number of years, Colm. I suppose you were obviously doing your media work and watching from afar and covering the games, but I suppose overall, and obviously hope springs eternal for this year, but what did you make of last year?
It was a struggle. Looking on from the outside, it looked like a real struggle from the very off. When news breaks around this time last year of Tommy Conroy doing his ACL, it just felt everything else since that became a real struggle. With injuries, obviously the league, the National League started generally well. I think we got 2 or 3 wins on the trot. And then after that, the injuries kind of hit. We hit a real lull towards the end of the National League, and it obviously accumulated in the league final defeat against Kerry. And there probably was still a hangover there from the year before, I'd say, the All-Ireland defeat to Tyrone. I think definitely amongst the supporters as much as anything else. Then you add in at the league final defeat, and obviously the injuries keep coming, and it just felt like it was a real struggle for the team to find any bit of form and any bit of momentum. That game against against Galway and Castlebar then was a real make or break, because if you win that, you get yourself through to a Connacht semi-final against Leitrim, and a good chance getting to the Connacht final, and things might open up a small bit for you from then. But you lose that game against Galway, don't perform anything really like you could do, and then you have a 6-week break until to your next game, which turned out to be against Monaghan. And I thought about this at the time, like that would have been an extremely hard 6-week layoff for the players, because they probably got a week off or whatever, and then to come back in, train, and almost to do another pre-season training again, getting ready for a qualifier game, and all the injuries that were there. I'm sure that was really tough, but they never really found their form. They got over Monaghan, they got over Kildare, but they never found their form in them games. And like I said here on, it was almost Lee as much as Anton that pulled them through them games. And then against Kerry, they were put in a decent shift in the first half, but it was a game you never really felt like we were going to win. Kerry obviously won a pulling up for a finish, but you just never felt like there was the drive, and probably that we had the quality either to go and get the scores to win it. But obviously when you take Tommy Conroy out, you take Ryan O'Donoghue out, and obviously a couple more injuries, I'm sure that had a really tough effect on the team. So yeah, it looked a struggle from the outside, but obviously we're going to move on now, and obviously we'll start talking about 2023 in a minute probably. But new management team coming in, Ken McStay, probably felt the right time probably for James to go. It just felt like, I remember looking down, I was at that game against Kerry, and you're looking down the pitch and you just felt, he's probably going to go after this one. It just felt like probably the end of an era, and he looked like he probably had enough at that stage, I'd say. And the following day I think he goes, and it's no real surprise. So the search then begins, and obviously Kevin McStay comes in now, so we're all looking forward to see what he can do for 2023. But obviously now he's a couple of new challenges to face with the news he's got over the last month or so.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose, can it briefly on last year, do you feel like a lot of people maybe forget about the injuries that Mayo did have last year, and obviously you retired, and it was a definitely change in the dressing room, a lot of injuries, obviously the key forwards, brilliant forwards, and obviously maybe a lot of people maybe tended to forget a lot of that, or maybe were people so focused on the Kerry razzmatazz?
Yeah, possibly so. I think Mayo supporters would be generally aware of the injuries we had. I'm not sure the other people from other counties appreciate it as much. Like even the likes of a Paddy Durkin, Oisin Mullins, and Omid Lachlan, these are just off the top of my head, Jeremy O'Connor, they all picked up injuries where they were missing significant part of the championship, or were really just coming back just before games and weren't really fit and couldn't find any form or get a bit of momentum or anything like that. So that all took its toll. It all took its toll on the team as they go on, and like I said, the form just wasn't there coming into the championship that they needed. So yeah, I think Mayo people probably appreciate it a small bit more, even though they'll probably mainly focus on Tommy and Ryan. But I think when you look outside of that, there were numerous other injuries that kind of hurt us as well at that time. So look, it should be hoping going forward into this year we might get a bit more luck in that regards.
Absolutely, Colm. Fingers crossed. I suppose I have to ask you about James Horan. Obviously, he finished up with Mayo a couple of months ago, and obviously he went back for 2 spells. And we'd nearly say more about Mr. Horan, like what an impact and mark he's left on Mayo football. And I think he probably doesn't get enough credit that he deserves. Really, I think obviously you obviously know more about that. But James Horan really did leave his mark, Colm.
He did, yeah, and I think you're right there. He probably doesn't get enough credit. I would say. What he did when he came in, 2011 really brought the team to a new level. Like, granted, he not that he was lucky, but he did have a good bunch there to work with, and the likes of Lee came through, the likes of a Aidan O'Shea, the likes of a Killeen, players that we might never see the type of again. They came through, and obviously you had the experience there with Andy Moore that was there already, and Alan Dillon and players like that. So he had a good mix, but he obviously developed them on and done massive work from it, and he leaves us there, and obviously Pat Holmes and Noel Kennelly comes in then, and Stephen Rochford comes in and does really, really good work, and obviously became really, really close as well to the All-Ireland, to win an All-Ireland. And then James comes back in again, and look at James's spell. I'd say when he looks back was, I think he done a really, really good job in his second term. But to manage a team 2 years through COVID, I'd say was a nightmare. To be honest with you, because 2020 especially was so difficult. 2021 then was a small bit easier, but it was still difficult at the same time. And then obviously came close to winning at least one All-Ireland in that time. 2021 has left a bit of sour taste in everyone's mouth, because we Tyrone fully deserved to win that game. They were the absolute better team, but we didn't perform, and that was kind of disappointing in that regard. So if you push Tyrone to the absolute pin of their collars, people might look at it a small bit difficult, but we didn't really, and it left a small bit of a bitter taste, like I said, in people's mouths. Like I said to you earlier on, the team and supporters never really recovered from that. There was a small bit of a hangover from it last year, and James was getting a small bit of stick, undeservedly so, really. And I think that was taking its toll really on everyone, and probably James himself really as much as Anthony. And but yeah, done an unbelievable job, and deserves an awful lot of respect and credit for what he did.
I suppose, Colm, as you rightly said, like, he did manage teams throughout COVID, got players together in individual trainings and stuff being called off, and like that's an achievement itself. But to keep getting used to Connacht finals, keep getting used to league finals, All-Ireland finals, and like, Jim Gavin gets all the praise in the world, and rightly so, won the All-Irelands and everything that went with that. But James Horan, I just think to keep getting his back year after year, like, that is remarkable stuff.
It is, yeah, it is, and that's what he did. So what he was so good at, getting teams prepared to go and play at the highest level and train at the highest level and show that consistency to get to the latter stages of the championship each year. Like, that takes an awful lot of work, and people mightn't fully appreciate that. Even getting your team in the right mind frame of getting through your Connacht games, or getting through a qualifier games, or whatever you need to do to get to the latter stage of the championship. Like, it takes very good management skills, and that's what he did, and that's what he was really, really good at. He was really, really strong, especially coming up to match day. He was really, really strong at getting his team right and ready to go, and in a mental frame to get the absolute best out of themselves. That was probably his strongest part of his management skills.
Probably the greatest Mayo manager to do it so far, do you think?
Yeah, I'd be up there, obviously. Going back over the years and some really good managers, and going back to the 50s, obviously, since the last time we'd won it as well. But definitely in modern times, yeah, he'd be up there as well. There's no doubt about it, yeah.
The year ahead, Colm, obviously 2023, as I said a couple of minutes ago, hope those spring eternal. Obviously, Kevin McStay and Stephen Rochford have gone in there to try guide Mayo, obviously, to the promised land. But I suppose news in recent weeks, but obviously Oisin Mullen and Lee Keegan heading off, and obviously Dublin kind of getting stronger now with Paul Manny and Jack McCaffrey coming back. So maybe it's been a tough kind of couple of weeks adjusting everything. But I suppose, obviously, you look forward to the year ahead.
Oh yeah, you'd have to look at it. As I said here, the two boys are huge losses, and especially going into a year where there's a new championship format coming. I don't know if people fully aware of the new format and the amount of games. I was listening to Colm Keys on a Mayo football podcast there over the last couple of months, when I fully realised the amount of games that's coming and the nature and how tough it's going to be next year, or this year coming. It's going to be the toughest ever to win All Ireland. If you get to a provincial, you're into a group of 4 after that, and you have to finish in the top 2 just to get to an All Ireland quarter final. So there's extra games. You're going to play more high quality opposition at the latter stages of the championship. And from a Mayo point of view, then you lose your 2 of your best 3 defenders, probably along with Paddy Durkin, and all of a sudden, you're looking at your team and you're looking at your squad, and it's affected hugely in that. And when you're going to be playing more games, you hope, and more games later on the championship against high quality opposition, it's going to be tough, But look, we have a couple of players coming through, and it's going to be really interesting to see in the league now how they do. Like we've David McBreen has been injured the last couple of years. He now looks like he's over his injuries, and he's starting to full back. Over the last, they played a challenge game against Sligo, or a charity game against Sligo, and hopefully he gets a run of games now through the league and the championship. He'd be a great addition. Jack Coyne has had a huge year for his club, and he's back in the panel now again. So we have a couple of players coming through. But like I said, this year, it's almost about keeping our main players that we have fit. If we can keep Paddy Durcan fit, keep obviously Aidan and Killeen. If we can get Killeen back and train and get into a level, like he'd be like a new player to us. He obviously came back very, very late into the championship last year. I forgot to mention him earlier on. Like what he did last year was unbelievable, considering he had probably the most serious injury a footballer can have in rupturing your Achilles tendon, and then to get back a couple of weeks before championship training and put in the level of performances he did, even just to be on the pitch was sensational. So yeah, hopefully now Killeen over time is going to be a small bit better as well. And yeah, they'd be huge additions. But keeping your Diarmuid O'Connor's fits, keeping your Paddy Durcans, obviously your Aidan O'Shea's, Matty Ruans, keeping these boys fit. So Ryan O'Donoghue, obviously Tommy Conroy, that'll be key for Mayo going forward.
Yeah, like you're after naming all them players, like it would be very, very hard to rule Mayo out again. And like I know obviously news in recent weeks with the two boys heading away, obviously Oisin heading to Australia and obviously Lee retiring, but you're after naming some absolutely remarkable players. If Mayo can keep them lads fit, what's another year, Colm?
Yeah, but to be honest with you, John, I think the way it's gone now, there's no runaway train out there anymore. I think there's, with that unbelievable Dublin team that we saw of the last decade. Don't get me wrong, Kerry are a brilliant team, and in the brilliant team they have an absolute exceptional footballer in David Clifford, obviously. But year two, trying to retain the Ireland, probably it's going to be a small bit more difficult, and you can already see, they've had a lot of players that's been playing an awful lot of football over the winter months, like even the two Cliffords. David Moore, obviously, has been going heavy into the club championship. I think Gavin White has been injured since the All-Ireland final. Paul Murphy's been going heavy with Rathmore since the All-Ireland final. So they've had a lot of boys that's been playing an awful lot of football over the last couple of months, on top of what they did for Kerry last year. So, they'll probably find it a bit more difficult even going into the league and the championship of getting things right. And obviously they're there to be shot at from everyone at this stage. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see. Dublin, as you mentioned, you're obviously thinking they're going to be stronger with McCaffrey and Mannion back. Granted, Mannion is just coming back from a serious injury as well, so he's gonna find it tough now to get up to the level and up to the level that he would expect of himself too. But obviously he's going to be a huge addition, even though they've lost Cooper on top of that as well. But I think in a general sense, you look at the teams that's out there, your Derrys, your Armaghs, all these teams that are improving. Galway now are a serious contender and will be serious contenders for the foreseeable future. If you go through their team and go through the age profile that's there and the players that they've come on, as well, they're going to be thereabouts again. So I think over the next 5 years, you could easily see 3 different winners of the All-Ireland, and you probably couldn't have said that over the last maybe whatever number of years, because maybe the likes of a Dublin were so dominant. I think you will see a couple of different winners over the next couple of years, especially. So yeah, it's all there to play for numerous teams. I think now more than ever, teams are really going to fancy their chances, especially if they can find themselves in the latter stages of the championship.
It's great to have a competitive championship once again.
Yeah, brilliant.
It makes everyone interested in it once again. Obviously, like Kevin McStay kind of coming in. He's applied for the Mayo job numerous times. Finally got it. Stephen Ross are going to be giving him a hand. So, better men, 2 men to kind of try get Mayo to that promised land.
Definitely. Yeah, I think when the management team was announced first, we all became a bit excited, and I kind of thought to myself at the time, geez, if I was still a player in that squad, I'd be really, really happy now. I'd be ready to go almost back training now. It was announced last August, September, But at the same, obviously, Donny Buckley back in there as well, Lee McHale, Damien Mulligan, really, really good fella as well. So I think they've got that mix just perfectly as well, just perfectly right, So everything is kind of there for them from management and a structural point of view to build. Obviously, this is a 4-year project as well, you'd hope, for Kevin McStay. So I think his main goal now, he won't be just looking at 2023 and trying to win an All-Ireland in 2023 he'll be looking at trying to develop as many players as he can, because he'll know he's there for hopefully the long term, and he's probably also aware that he's going to lose a couple of players in that 4-year period. So I'm thinking of the likes of Kevin McLaughlin's is back for this year, Jason Doherty's back for this year, which is absolutely brilliant. Delighted. But they won't be around for too much longer after that. So it's about replacing the likes of these guys and guys that are coming towards the end of the career, because there is a couple of boys there as well. So it's about managing that, and I'm sure he's planning ahead in the long term. So he's trying to build as much of a squad as he can now for this year, and develop as many lads as he can, hopefully through the National League, because that's the time to do it. Get lads playing, not too many at a time, but definitely getting 2, 3, 4 boys in at a time if you can, trying to develop them on, maybe with the aim of playing championship football in 2024. That could be what Kevin McStay is looking for, hoping to build all the time and build as much of a panel and bring as many fellas on. And you just don't know what could happen. You could get on a run this year, confidence is up, you get to a latter stage of the championship, and you've as good a chance as anyone else then once you're there. But like I said to you earlier on, with the new structure now, it's more difficult than ever to get to a final. So we'll see.
I have to ask you about Aidan O'Shea, Colm. Obviously, he comes in probably for a lot of unnecessary online abuse, and obviously maybe he doesn't read into it too much, and he seems to be nearly the scapegoat every time Mayo seem to underperform or not do well, and people have small memories in terms of the service he's given Mayo football. He's very versatile, and I know everyone time catches up with everyone, but I think a lot of unnecessary criticism comes Aidan O'Shea's way.
Oh, 100%, John. Yeah, mad stuff. And look, Aidan is very strong-minded, very, very strong-minded, but that can take its toll on anyone. Huge servant to Mayo football. We're talking about Lee earlier on and the contributions that he's given. Aidan is the exact same. Would we have been challenged as much as we have without Aidan over the last many amount of years? Very difficult to see it, because he's been such an influence and driving force in that team. And when Aidan is playing well, because he's so big and strong, and if Aidan makes a turnover, it nearly lifts the whole crowd and lifts the team and everything, because there's something powerful about it. And he's done that numerous times. Or if he makes a big catch, you know what I mean, it's the same effect on the team. And a brilliant player for Mayo football. And like you said, it's going to be very interesting to see how he's utilised over the next year with Kevin McStay, because Kevin McStay over the last couple of years, and I know I would have done a couple of podcasts and stuff with him last year, and he was very adamant that Aidan should be at full forward and we build our game plan around him, so it'd be very interesting to see now, does he stick to that? Because Mayo people will say, well, he's been there before, but Aidan is so smart that he can adapt to Anton. He can, if we got the right game plan around Aidan and used him right, he 100% can play in any position. Obviously, as time gets on, it's a bit more difficult, obviously, to play out around the middle of the pitch, especially when you're so big and Aidan, like Aidan is, and you have to carry a lot of weight around the pitch naturally because of your size. That becomes a bit more difficult. But he can float between positions and be so effective for us. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm not sure will he play too much earlier on in the league. I wouldn't say so. I think it might be more from midway on we might see him. And the same with maybe the likes of Kevin McLaughlin or Jason Doherty or a couple of the older guys. But it'll be a fascinating one to look out for, definitely from a Mayo point of view.
I suppose, Colm, that kind of summarises maybe where we are, maybe at a nation, with all the kind of social media stuff for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It just seems to be too easy for people to go behind these kind of fake accounts and, the barstool critics, I suppose, Colm. And obviously, maybe when you were playing Colm yourself, did you avoid the noise? Or maybe because obviously Intercounty is getting professional and the way everything's going, it's so quick and fast moving. Did you avoid the noise, or how did you deal with any of that?
I'd probably avoid the noise before games. I'd be very good at staying. If it's a big game coming off at the weekend, I probably wouldn't be on the phone all week, just avoiding any talk or any paper talk. Or, as you said, now there's so many stuff going on with social media and obviously podcasts and everything, you know what I mean? So you'd be avoiding kind of that as much as you can. But the stuff you're talking about there, the criticism and the abuse or whatever you want to call it, such nonsense, people abusing anyone online, it's incredible to think that's what it's come to, you know what I mean? And like you said there, when you mentioned Aidan has probably got more than anyone maybe in the GAA world, I would say, or the last whatever amount of years. Ridiculous stuff. And yeah, it's very, very unfortunate. But like I said, Aidan is very, very strong-minded, but that takes a toll on anyone. I don't care who you are or how strong-minded you are, and it's very, very sad to see. And I think now more than ever we expect, even young players coming through, and they might play for a game or two, and people will comment on social media. They might have a bad game, their first ever game or debut, and completely write them off after one game, not knowing them, not ever seen them play before. But now we expect players to come in and be a David Clifford straight away, without saying, okay, that fella's not ready. He might need another year, or in 2 years' time, he could be an excellent footballer. It's just all writing fellas off. You expect them to come in and shoot the lights out or be a really good defender straight away. That's the kind of way it's gone. I think, we're a lot of armchair experts out there, but it's unfortunate to say the least.
Absolutely is, Colm. Hopefully something can be legislated for it very soon, because I think it has to have that kind of ripple effect on players, which is definitely not fair, because they are amateurs, not getting paid. They're not Premier League players, not getting hundreds and thousands of pound each week. So it's something that could be looked at. I suppose, Colm, obviously you're reverting back to yourself, even like playing for Mayo over the years, and obviously the long career you did have. So how much did you enjoy it overall?
Oh, unbelievable! Yeah, unbelievable. Very, very lucky in my career, obviously, to play with brilliant fellas. I've talked about Aidan and Lee there a bit there, but all the guys that I played with, and James, obviously, I came in at a time where James was really starting something off in Mayo football, so I was really, really lucky in that regard. My first spell with Mayo didn't go well. Probably, I talked about players not being ready, maybe making their debut and not being ready. That was probably me back in 2008. I came in and played. I wasn't really ready, wasn't physically ready, wasn't mentally ready, and ended up I got let go then, and in 12 months later or something like that. So when I came back then again in the end of 2011, 2012, obviously that cycle had started with Mayo football, that we were starting to lift things on a small bit. So really, really lucky in that regards, and just built on and built a confidence from there. John, it's amazing. Sometimes you just get playing and confidence just comes, and you don't know where it comes from. You know what I mean? You develop this, like I said, confidence that this is what you're meant to do and this is where you're meant to be, and you're out in the middle of the pitch playing with Mayo in front of huge crowds, and it just feels like the most normal thing in the world all of a sudden to you, and it's a brilliant, brilliant place to be. And then you've loads of challenges in that, within your challenges all year round, and your training and getting your body right for training, and if you're training the following day, getting your food right and prepared for food to bring getting your food prepared to bring to work with you. So you're going from work to training, but you're obviously you're hydrated and you've got your proper food and everything, and that that goes on for years and years and years. But it's getting yourself, like I said about Lee earlier on about his training, like that's, if you don't do your stuff in training, you're obviously not going to be able to do it on match day. But they were all the challenges you faced, but unbelievable experiences when you look back on. And obviously on and off the pitch, because on the pitch is one thing, great days and great experiences, but it's the crack you have off the pitch then as well with the lads. Like, we would have such a brilliant group of fellas over the years that came and left the dressing room over a 10+ year period, and the crack we had, and the nights out we had, and the trips we had, the team holidays we had. Like, brilliant crack. Like, it's only, sometimes you'd see on your phone, you might get something on Snapchat or something. I actually got one yesterday of a memory, the Snapchat memories from 6 years ago, and we were in Cape Town in South Africa as a team, or we were in different places on team holidays this time of year in January, and like, they were unbelievable times. And when would you get that again, that you head off with 50 or 60 people in a group and go on a holiday like that and have an unbelievable week together? So the little things that you kind of forget about, you definitely take for granted at the time, because you think this kind of lasts forever kind of thing, but the years don't be long going by, and you don't be getting opportunities like that now, that's for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a Colm. I suppose, we're marking back in like the 08, 09, 2010, like, and I feel, the game definitely has changed a lot even since then. Like, that's what, maybe 13, 14 years ago, I suppose, Colm. So when you were kind of starting off for Mayo, how enjoyable was it to play? Like, I suppose there was no blankets, none of this kind of defensive nonsense, and I wouldn't say all out attack, but enjoyable time to be playing football.
It was, yeah. I suppose the football obviously evolved. When I started back first, the first team that really brought that defensive football in from what we were playing in was obviously Donegal, kind of that Donegal team, and we obviously played them in the 12th final, and it was the first time really we came up against a defensive system like that. And okay, we lost the final, but you don't want to be learning in a final. It was probably one of the best learning experiences we had of how to play against a mass defence, or a team that gets loads of bodies back and defends with real intensity. Because I think anytime we came up against that kind of defensive system over the next number of years, we were actually really, really good at playing against it, and probably won out on most occasions because we figured it out, and we were not, I'm not going to say became comfortable playing against it, but knew what to do in certain scenarios, and it wasn't such a shock or surprise anymore. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, an awful lot of the games we played, especially against your Dublins and Kerrys, were basically shootouts. There were two or three teams, like I said, against them teams especially, where they were just going at each other, and it was made the best team win nearly kind of attitude. And people nearly criticised us a small bit for it and praise us at the same time, that we didn't change it up maybe a small bit more. We did make tweaks here and there. I think maybe 16 was kind of the first year we really had a designated sweeper, I would say, or try to create that extra defender to kind of shore shore things up the back, and McLaughlin was kind of playing that role for us. But I think more so we were based on attacking and trying to get as many scores as possible. And teams probably enjoyed playing against us too. At the same time, like we would have played an awful lot of northern teams and different types of teams who probably were used to playing against opposition that were a lot more deep and got numbers behind the ball. And I'd say their forwards probably enjoyed playing against us because we were a lot more open. Chances are they were getting a lot more chances against us than they would be against other teams. But we knew, okay, they'd get their scores, but we'd still fancy ourselves that we'd get enough up the other end to win the game. Now, there was an awful lot of tight games in that, and an awful lot of scares and games we could have lost, let's put it that way, over the years. But yeah, we got through in an awful lot of them.
Absolutely, Colm. I suppose obviously, over the years, Colm, you would have been part and parcel of all them kind of All-Ireland final teams, and obviously so many massive and big days in Croke Park for yourselves. And I suppose, like, when you look back at it all, Colm, and I know obviously you maybe haven't got a chance to look back at some of the YouTube videos and clips, but like really looking back, Colm, like it was a remarkable journey for yourself.
Oh yeah, unreal. If you said to me, even when James Warren rang me, and I've said this before, I remember ringing me around October 2011 to come back into the panel. Like if James was telling me then what was to happen over the next 10 or 12 years, I would said you're absolutely mad. Like, if you were to write the script of what was to happen, and even as a young fella to dream of even just playing in Croke Park once, you know what I mean? But to do it, and I don't know, many times I've done it over the years, like, more than I ever could have dreamed of, and not just playing in Croke Park, but playing in a full house on so many occasions, like, and literally you cannot even hear yourself think because of the atmosphere and the crowd and the noise that's around you. Like, unbelievable experiences. And like I said earlier on, you nearly kind of have to take it for granted at the time because it's just become so normal. It was just this is happening every single year. And it became so normal that you're just so used to it, and it felt like the most normal thing in the world. Then you come out of it and you're thinking, Jesus, you think, how did you used to do that? Because there was so much pressure on at the same time, but once you kind of hit the pitch and the ball was thrown in, the release and the pressure nearly went, and it was just like you're nearly playing a game for your club in front of a couple hundred people because the same principles applied, and you just went at it and you did your best for your team. But unbelievable experiences in that, and there's nothing better than playing in a full house in Croke Park. It's unbelievable, and yeah, don't miss the training at this time of year for sure, but certainly come summertime you miss that buzz because it's nothing, no matter what you do, nothing can replace that.
Yeah, I suppose, Colm, like we're obviously the outsider looking in, where the Joe Soaps probably talk about the games, but obviously you were a player for so long, and like when we get to watch the games in Croke Park or TV, and you see the players going around, and say even like the week leading into All Ireland finals, Colm, or even the All Ireland series itself, like what's the buzz and everything like for yourself?
Yeah, you try and treat it as any other game, obviously, but this is not another game, but you try and just process it as much as you can, and nearly I was big into, like a lot of players, visualization, so just picturing stuff as much as you can. Even you mentioned the parade there, so you'd run that through your head a couple of times during the week, what that looks like, the crowd, the noise, and maybe think of what you're going to think about when you're walking around that parade, because sometimes you can become a small bit lost and you're looking into the crowd and you're nearly forgetting what it's all about or what you need to concentrate on in your game. So when you're walking around it, just pick 3 things to focus on, and even your own game that you want to be doing in the first 5 or 10 minutes to set yourself into the game, and just having stuff like that prepared. And like I said, I was big into the visualization, using that then to see what the game looked like as it went on, and even before the parade, picturing yourself coming into Croke Park on the bus, because it used to be manic, because the crowds would be absolutely, the streets would be heaving with people. There'd be people, going mental at the bus going by, and the police escort and stuff like that. So you'd be processing all that as the week goes on, and eventually bring yourself into the game and what that looked like, and try to prepare the best you could with that. But from a kind of other sense, I would have been big on, like I said earlier on, staying off your phones, staying away from social media and stuff like that, and trying to keep myself to myself as much as possible, which was difficult as well, because obviously you've work to go to, you're out and about, you're going to shops and stuff, so people, as soon as they see you, they're pulling you in, best luck Sunday, how you fix, that kind of thing. And I'd be very big on keeping chat to a minimal, to say the least, leading up to a big game. So that became difficult, but obviously you get used to it over time. And I tried numerous different things and techniques to minimize that as much as possible. But no matter what you do, you'll always find a bit of, some people are different than, some people love it, some people go out and chat to people and they don't mind, and they don't mind that build up. But I would have been very much keeping that to a minimum, and just bringing myself back to what I need to be doing to be right come the game on Sunday or whenever it was.
I suppose, Colm, kind of when you look back at something like the All-Ireland finals or Connacht finals, and like, would you kind of look back at disappointment, or would you kind of look back and like, right, I'm proud of all that because we got there. It was the biggest days of our lives. We done our club proud, we done our family proud, my friends proud. And look at it, it was really just great times.
Yeah, a bit of both. Great times, as you said, and then obviously huge disappointment that comes, that we never obviously got over the line and won. So yeah, small bit of both really. Because you're as good as them experiences were, they obviously would have been multiplied by a lot if you'd managed to win one. But look, at that day will come for Mayo over whenever it is over the next couple of years, hopefully. So yeah, that'll be great to watch. But as a player, obviously it would have been great. But you have to appreciate too, I can't change that now. So that's just the way life is. So if you're kind of going along the lines of thinking about it every day and having huge regrets, obviously you do have regrets, but you just have to let it go, because if you don't let it go, it'll eat you away basically. So that time is gone. But like you said, you kind of remember the good days and the unbelievable experiences you had, like you said there. And even to go back to the off the stuff pitch that I talked about earlier on, to be part of such a great team and great group of fellas, and being involved in something special, and some people driving you on to be the best you can, and obviously the crack you had with that as well. So you count yourself very, very lucky.
I suppose it shows, like, kind of like James Horn, but it shows even from yourself, the likes of Lee Keegan, O'Shea, all the boys, Killian O'Connor, to keep coming back year after year, to keep working hard to get to them levels, tough semi-finals, tough quarter-finals, Colm, like, to have that win within yourselves, like, remarkable stuff.
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, like I've often said this through my career, it's great to be able to do it while you're able to do it. You know what I mean? So look at why there was huge disappointments in there at the same time. The best way of getting over disappointment was always, for me, getting back training the following November, December, because you quickly forget about it. So that was always the thing for me, getting back in good shape as quick as possible. So for the lads that's still there at the minute, I presume it's the same. And look, you're retired long enough, so it's great to be able to do it when you can, because like I said to you earlier on, once you stop, them experiences stop with it. So that's what I'd be saying to anyone who's there at the minute, like, enjoy it where you can. And because when you come out of that intercounty environment, it's very, very different, because the experience, the big match day experiences aren't there anymore from a playing point of view, obviously, and they're impossible to replace really from that side of it. So I'd say that's what's keeping the boys going, keeping it going. And obviously then you have the aim, I'm sure them boys are aiming obviously to try and win an All-Ireland as well. Of course they are. So that's a driving factor for them. That's a factor for them to be coming back and still going and still training and still driving it on, and driving standards in there, I'm sure, and trying to show the way for the boys that's there as well.
I suppose, Colin, when you were young, kind of starting off, playing for your club, going to training, like, was it something you always wanted to do, play for Mayo?
Oh yeah, I was always football mad as a young fella, football mad. Probably too much so, to be honest with you. I should have spent probably more time doing my homework and stuff like that. But yeah, I was always playing football, always football mad. And like a couple of years, it's only when you look back, kind of a couple of things when I was younger really just got me obsessed about football. Like I spoke about this last year, being in the kind of final in 1999, Mayo Galway in Tuam on a soaking wet day. We got absolutely drowned out behind the goal. Galway were Ireland champions. The place, you couldn't get another person into the place. It was that packed, and Mayo come out and win by 3 or 4 points. Like leaving that day, I was about whatever, maybe 10 or 11 years of age, absolutely hooked on football from then on, you know. And it just kind of, there's always something that kind of starts it. Why I would have liked football up until then, leaving there that day, or like, you know, definitely have to play for Mayo, you know. And it just became obsessive after that, you know. So I was really, really just determined to be the best that I could. And look, I was always kind of decent underage player coming through or anything like that, but I would have never shown that I was going to, you know, be a consistent player for Mayo or seniors or anything like that. But that just came at work. Obviously, my stature, I was quite small and light, so I had an awful lot of work to do in that regards, as most people do, you know. So to get to the level that I did, I have to be very, very grateful, because I obviously wouldn't have been a talent like Lee Hegan or Keith Higgins or anything like that. Like when I talk about just elite players, you know, that's what I looked them two boys especially. They were just elite footballers, gifted footballers, but obviously did the work as well. No, I'd be, you know, below that, but very, very grateful for the level I got to. Took a lot of work. You know, could I do more? Could of course, you can always be better. Absolutely, you can always be better. You can always strive to be better. But you know, if you're to tell me back when I was that day leaving Tuam, you know, that I got to that level, I probably would have taken that when I was that young fella leaving Tuam that day.
Absolutely. And I suppose kind of looking back, Colm, like what are your proudest moments or proudest memories playing for the Green and Red?
It's hard to know, really. Like, a lot of great days and great memories, and a few of them, you know, big days and maybe not so big days. You know, it's hard to think of one. Like, obviously, you're kind of drawn to the days where you think you had your best performances, really. And there's probably a couple of games in that. I think the 17 semi-final against Kerry, I just got a really good game that day. Kind of one of them games where you feel like everything is going well for you, and you feel like no matter what you do, you're bouncing on top of the ground. I think it was Paul O'Connor. I remember reading his book before. He just called it the flow state or something like that, where you just know you're on top of your game here, and you never want the game to end because you're just absolutely. And that was one of them games for me. And you don't get that too often in your career, like, you know, because even in a game that you play really well, you'll still do a lot of, you know, stuff that isn't so good. But that was just one of them games where felt like it was going really well, doing an awful lot of good stuff, and obviously more importantly, you get the win and beat a good Kerry team at the end of that to get back to a final. So yeah, a couple of them games through career, that'd be up there definitely. And look at even the games you lost, the finals, you know, by people that say they're not highlights, losing finals, but like I said earlier on, brilliant experiences to be part of, you know, that you probably only appreciate now when you're done, you know.
I suppose, like, what's it like the Ticket Trust maybe in Tuam or Croke Park, like, or like being like, coming up against some unbelievable footballers and like 80,000 people like watching you, everything, with probably millions of viewers on TV, Colm, and your time to shine. Like, what's it all like, I suppose, generally?
Like I said to you earlier on, it's experience that you can't replicate once it's all over. You know, unbelievable experiences. But again, I'm kind of repeating myself here, but it became so normal, and it just felt like after time that this was what you were meant to be doing. You know, it just completely normal, and not that you came relaxed in this situation, but you came so accustomed to it, and you knew how to get yourself right. You knew how to prepare for it. Obviously, as time goes on and experience is brilliant, you were able to deal with them situations an awful lot better. In my early part of my career, probably found that a small bit more difficult. But like I said, over time, the experience and everything that goes with it, it just felt so normal, you know what I mean? And unbelievable to be a part of. Unbelievable. And like I said, unfortunately, you won't get them that time back again, and them experiences back again, them type of experiences anyway back again. That buzz, that being in the heat of battle in a full croak or wherever it was, like I spoke about the Gaelic grounds earlier on, or wherever it is, even playing league games around the country in great venues like the Athletic Grounds up in Armagh or something like that. You know, down in Tralee, in full houses down Tralee, Saturday night games were always great to be part of as well. Brilliant atmospheres, you know, getting, you know, that unfortunately you can't replace that kind of stuff, you know. They were magic to be part of.
I suppose, obviously, Colm, you're doing a lot of media work last year, and obviously going to do as much this year as possible. You've gone in with the Mayo minor footballers, so I suppose you're getting that girl back fairly quickly.
Yeah, but you know, it's great. It's great to be doing something, great to be busy. You know, last year was great. I done a small bit of media and podcasts and stuff like that, which was brilliant. You know, writing a column for the Irish Mirror as well, because it really kept you it kept you going with the football and kept you interested, and it made me not just watch games as supporters. As a supporter, sorry, it just made me really focus on the actual game itself and watching it in complete detail of what was happening. You know, which was brilliant. So looking forward to doing that again this year, and obviously on top of that as well, with the Mayo Miners. Which is great. We're only kind of getting up and running now, which is brilliant. So yeah, looking forward to a small bit of coaching on that. It's a short enough season in the fact that there's no league. Championship starts around April, and then it's straight into it after that. So really looking forward to it. Yeah, it's very, very different than playing, obviously, as anyone will tell you. We're looking, you know, same Sean Dean, obviously, he's been over the minors the last 2 years, and he's built up a really good management team as there. So I'm coming in and I'm learning from them fellas, and they're top quality and top notch and really good fellas. So looking forward to going with that as the year goes on.
Brilliant stuff. So, Colm, what might be 3, 4, 5 players you kind of paying into the likes of Croke Park, Tuam Stadium, anywhere at all to go and watch?
Sorry, John, I just didn't catch that.
No, sorry. What kind of players maybe are exciting you at the minute? Obviously, we probably all have the same player, but suppose what would be 3, 4, 5 players are we talking about that's exciting Boyle?
Yeah, well, obviously, every year that comes, someone will kind of break through that maybe we mightn't be 100% aware of. Obviously, your main boys are there. I think Conor Callan's a big one because he has even in the last 2 years, I would say, he hasn't been himself, an awful lot of injuries. So that's a huge one for Dessie Farrell. Can he get the Conor Callan 2017, 18, 19, can he get him back where he was looking like he was pretty much unstoppable? Obviously, Walsh and Clifford are probably the two main boys at the minute. There's no doubt, obviously, Clifford. Walsh is going through a phase now where you just feel like he's at the peak of his powers. You know, I think he's 30 this year. He's probably at his maximum level now. He's obviously flying for Kilmacrud at the minute as well. And, you know, but no more than what I talked about, the Kerry boys are on. He's had a really long season, you know, so you just wonder how that's going to affect him, you know, when it comes to the crunch later on in the year. Obviously that'll come in time. The likes of even the Conor Glasses, you know, can he push on now? He's obviously flying as well for his club. Can he push on with Derry and have a really good championship as well? And from a Mayo point of view, Tommy Conroy certainly, and Ryan O'Donoghue, can we get them, because they're two quality footballers. I think obviously we're down the likes of a Michael Murphy from the championship and a Lee Keegan. Like, they're huge losses to everyone because they're unbelievable footballers. So hopefully, for everyone's sake, the likes of a Tommy Conroy comes good, and Ryan O'Donoghue, because they're brilliant footballers to watch. And yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. You know, do Kerry have something else coming in the pipeline that we're not 100% sure of yet? But yeah, it'll be all unveiling itself as the league plays through, and certainly into the championship, definitely.
Great stuff, Colm. So, last few, you'll love me for asking this one. The toughest player you played against and the best player you played with?
Well, the best player I played with was probably not an easy one because I played with so many different players, but obviously Lee is kind of, as we spoke about, at that level now where it just felt like what he did over a 12-year period was ridiculous, really. So yeah, and that's no disrespect to the other guys that I played with that are at an unbelievable level as well, but I think the majority of our team will say Lee was just something unique. So yeah, and then against look at. Geez, you could go through any of that Dublin team really over the years. Obviously, Gooch as well in that as well. From, you know, Gooch was probably coming at the end, right, when I was playing against him, but he was still absolutely sensational. And then you've Clifford there now as well, which I would have played against in 19. So God, it's hard to pick one played against, you know, because there's so many top quality footballers. Like that Dublin team we played against that time, like any of their six forwards, when you go through them, Brogan, Paul Flynn, Jim Connolly, Paddy Andrews, you know, obviously Conor Callan that came into it then. Like, when you go through, you're marking any of them boys on any given day, and like, it's just, you know, it's tough going. You know, it's tough going. So yeah, it's hard to pick one, to be honest with you, I suppose, in a roundabout way. If I answer your question.
Lots of quality, Colm. Lots of quality.
Yeah.
Suppose. Last question, Colm. You've been fantastic with your time. What kind of advice maybe would you give, like I suppose, a young kind of Colm Boyle trying to make the break? And obviously you'll be seeing a lot of minor boys, but make the breakthrough onto a club team, a county team, or I suppose any general life advice, because no better man to ask this question.
Yeah. I suppose to enjoy it as much as anything, because look, it's great to be able to do it first of all, and to be fit and healthy and to be pushing. Just that something maybe I didn't do earlier on in my career was ask enough questions. You know, if I had developed physically when I was, you know, 17, 18, 19, 20, you know, maybe, like I talked about earlier on, I got let go off plan 2008. Maybe that wouldn't have happened if I was, you know, if I was a year or two ahead of my development, if I'd asked enough questions of where I need to improve them. Because your coaches see you every day at training, and they mightn't physically tell you, you know, because they've 30 other fellas there, they mightn't physically tell you what you need to be working on. You know, just go and ask questions. You know, go and ask questions. What do I need to be doing? What do I need to be improving on? And then when you get the answers, and it mightn't be the answer you want to hear, you know, because you might think you're really strong at something, and you have a coach telling you need to work on this. It's a weak point. Take it on board and work on it, and do what you need to do, and you know, play as much football as you can, obviously, as well, and at your age groups and your teams, and yeah, like I said, enjoying it and just striving to be the best you can be, you know. But you have to do that in training, and Lee's the best example I can use that. Lee Keegan, he wouldn't have been the player he was if he didn't absolutely empty himself every single session. And believe me, he emptied himself. If you ask any of our boys, his body went through hell, to be honest with you. But that's why he was able to perform a match day, because he put himself through that. And he put plenty of opposition players through hell then when he went marking them, because he'd worked so hard himself. So yeah, hard work is the key if you want to get to a really good level.
Great stuff, Colm. Thanks a million for that. So, Colm Boyle, thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, the podcast is brought to you by yourgarage.com. 20% off on their website until the end of January. So get your hands on the gear. Mr. Boyle, the very, very best luck with the Mayo minors this year. And obviously, we'll probably be seeing you on Off the Ball and now with the media outlets. But yeah, thanks a million for joining me this week.
Thanks a million, John.
Cheers, Colm.